I'm the co-founder of Recall.ai. I think my co-founder is somewhere out there. I have most of my experience as a founder and or entrepreneur working on the product side, but I've also started investing as well, and so I've got a bit of both perspectives. Justin, you're next.
Hello, everyone. Yes, now you can hear me. Okay, so my name's Justin Holsall. I'm a little bit of an odd one on this panel since I'm not an investor or a founder. I'm actually a developer advocate for IBM, but I'm from the startup world. I've spent 10 years in the startup world, and I brush shoulders with a lot of angel investors, a lot of founders as well. I help out a lot of founders. And somehow I host a lot of startup pitches. I see hundreds and hundreds of startups pitch every year. So that's a bit about me.
Hey guys, my name is Ali. I'm an e-commerce and branding specialist, I guess. I've built and sold 2 companies, and I'm currently CEO and co-founder at ShareBert, which is like Tinder for shopping.
I'm Jenny. I've done a lot of things, sort of a very zigzag path from digital media to anti-money laundering automation to real estate investment. And I'm an angel in a couple of companies as well. So yeah, it's not a straightforward path in my life. I'm pleased to be here.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me? I think this one works. I'm Zoltan, one of the co-founders of Croissant. We are the world's leading marketplace for co-working on demand. Started the company 4 years ago. I recently transitioned over to IBM. My specialty is growth in terms of product, digital marketing, sales, and any other legal advice you may need when it comes to startup and setting up governance.
Woo. Hi everyone, I'm Dmitry, business angel and entrepreneur from Russia, now moving my activities to New York, and here I am as a partner of Katya with our project DealDep. DealDep now is a product like Deal AI, with some experience, with a lot of experience in VC, and now running a company. Not only Deal AI, but one company in Eastern Europe.
So, all right, guys, thank you for the introductions. Thank you all for showing up. I created a whole bunch of questions, but really not going to use them.
Freestyle.
Having been, personally speaking, I've been at Starta now for a year, and I'm seeing like 2 types of founders. I'm seeing guys who are really honing their product and trying to make it as excellent as possible, and guys who are maybe not so much working on the product and focusing on sales. Having said that, and with you guys up here, what kind of advice would you give founders when it comes to product versus sales? What should their focus be in the short term to get to venture on the venture radar and grow their businesses?
I think it depends what kind of sales you're doing. If you're doing enterprise sales and you listen to the customer too much, you're going to end up being a custom shop. You're going to be doing project work, and everything will be, bespoke to whoever you're dealing with. If you're more in the pull model where you're consumer facing, then I think product is more important. So I think you need to think about what is your business model. Is it a push? Are you doing B2B sales, or is it a pull model where you're pulling in new customers, and then decide, really, if you go to sell to JP Morgan Chase, you're not going to tell them what they need. They will tell you what they need. If you're selling to consumers, it's a little different.
Yeah, I think this one works. Yeah, I think that question depends on, number one, what stage you're at, and number two, going to your point, is like, what are you B2B or are you B2C? I think what happens, especially with early stage companies, is a lot of founders are very technical, so they feel very comfortable building out a product. But what I see that kind of lacks is this customer development. Like, my philosophy is like don't even put a line of code on the paper until you really have an idea of what the problem is or what it is that you're trying to solve. Otherwise, you're just essentially wasting time. Yeah.
I just said that if we are talking about Eastern European startups, just put yourself in the United States and you will face the problems you haven't seen before. I mean, for guys, technical guys who just just build product. Yeah.
I think an interesting point to add on these is that there is not a single right answer. One of the biggest myths that you'll always hear is people that are like, it's all about customer development, or it's all about the lean start method, never code, or it's all about sales, screw product, tech is commoditized, get, your customer. I think it's very different. I think the biggest problem is ignoring 95% of the advice and then finding the 5% of advice in terms of advisors and your internal look in the mirror as well as advisors and say, what are my goals, what are my constraints, and how does this business apply? So if your goal is that you need to raise money because you can't afford to do this full time without capital, you got to look around and say, who's got money? What do they want? Do they want revenues? Do they want something that looks great? Do they want traction? And so you don't want to become a victim to your customer or to the investor, but the reality is you're either going to fold up shop or you're going to raise money. On the other hand, if you are bootstrapping it and you can figure out a way to survive and your skills are like a product founder, then you basically can focus. You can be, the right product has no sales strategy, doesn't even know what they're building. They're just running a bunch of quick experiments. So I think the biggest problem is that there's these gurus out there that have their book, have their talk, have their spiel, and they're trying to force their view down every startup's throat with their template, the same way that some startups are trying to force their product down every customer's throat. So it's sort of about finding your own identity and then listening to only the minority people that are relevant and then saying thank you but no thanks to the majority of advice you get.
I actually agree and disagree with you on that
sure.
one.
I disagree with your disagreement.
Yes. In my experience, the people who are paying for your product, money is what makes your company run, right? So the people that are paying for your product decide what product you're going to have, whether that be consumer products, which I've sold. I was in the retail business, and then digital product, SaaS business. At the end of the day, your customers are going to determine what you deliver to them, and there's nothing worse than spending 6 months building something that nobody's going to fucking buy. I think that's...
Totally agree. I don't think you disagree with me. I think you disagree. I mean, I think you guys have made 2 points. One is that you can die by listening to your customer, and yours is that you can die by not listening to them. So the reality is that,
both are correct. Both are correct.
Both are correct. So, but I wasn't saying you should listen to your customer.
I think I agree with you on the fact that I agree to disagree, but I disagree with you on the fact that no, I think they're not even customers at that point. You have an idea, right? I mean, this is how a startup works. You have an idea. I think there is this problem in the world, right? But if you don't explore that problem, you're going to build a solution for a customer segment of 100 people, right? You have to explore the customer. You have to explore your hypothesis, because if you don't do that, then you're just going to end up building something that 100 people want. And unless you're charging $1,000 a month and you're making $100,000 a month, sure, that's questionably not a VC backable business.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is you don't want to be a slave to your customers, but you also want to explore the problem. And again, this is early stage, so I'm talking pre-seed, like when we're bringing in companies from an idea stage, it's very important to explore the hypotheses. I have an idea that there is this problem that exists. Well, explore it. Explore it as much as you can.
I agree. The only thing that I hate is this. There's no such thing as a scientist that does an experiment that. I should say there's no such thing. The vast majority of science comes from scientists that have a hypothesis, that hope that something they believe is true. And if they're a good scientist, they're open-minded enough to realize that their hypothesis is wrong. But just like science, there's a mythological science where I don't know whether gravity exists. I will just drop things. That's not really how it works. You have ideas, you have theories, and then I think business is the same. So the worst thing ever is to just be agnostic and say, I'm going to go where the customer is. I think you want opinionated products, you want opinionated code, you want opinionated team members. You just have to be humble enough to listen at the right time. But the worst thing is to put a blank slate in front of customers and say, tell me what you want. You have to put something that is testable, and it has to be true or false testable, not A, B, C, D, or E, and let me go to one of them. But I'm not. I don't think any of you would disagree with me. Yeah.
No, not at all.
Oh, good. So there's no debate tonight. That's good.
Oh yeah, no. Okay,
Ben, do you want us to add to the drama?
No,
are you
let's
sure?
reduce the
Okay.
drama. It's been a very stressful day. Okay, so let's just crack into the meat of this topic. Two-part question. Why did you become investors coming from a successful entrepreneurial background? Why did you decide to go into it? And the second part is, when you're looking for investments, do you look for startup founders with a business model or personal qualities that are similar to yours? Hit it. Feel free to pass if you don't feel like answering, but
Insider information.
this is deep in the mind right now. Let's do it.
No, I mean, I think when you know the founders and you understand the technology, even if it's something like, I don't know, genomic analysis and things that I never took biochemistry, but some people did clearly. It's about when you invest, you have to think about, can this make money, right? It's not aspirational. It's not. You're always going to be behind the scenes, right? It's about, can this make money or not? So you're going to have a very cold look at what's going on. It's not going to be about the dreams of the founder, ever.
And why did you get into it? Why did you start investing?
Because other smart people did. And once you get it, once you understand the scope of the market and the unfulfilled need, as with everything, right, then you will, yeah.
It works. My story of transformation, of turning from entrepreneur to investor, was not about successful exit and investing this money in other startups. It was a story about fail. So in the middle of the 2000s in Russia, we created news aggregator. It was before SaaS model became popular. It was even before XML and RSS protocols became popular. And we made a thin client for Windows to gather a lot of news from news sites one by one with our robots. And just imagine Russia, middle of the 2000s, and we were so crazy that we started advertising company in underground cars. I mean, in subway. People was not familiar with internet. People was busy with other problems, and we started to deliver this idea of gathering news from internet sites. It was crazy, and of course we failed. And I thought, why if I fail again? And this way I founded startup agency for building pipeline of startups to choose what I want to invest, and that's I start my VC way. But I was working as a managing partner in VC fund. But then I decided to not build another fund, but like a step back and stay as an angel investor, because I like to be close to the team, to be close to the product, and I'm sure that the pace of the changes, the pace of development in all sectors now is so high that you have to be like on the cutting edge with guys you are working for. In this case, I'm with the team, and it's about your second question that I am ready to invest in the teams which I could help them.
I think for me, at this stage, right? So again, going back to your question, it's all different stages, but for me at this stage, I think for me it's 100% about the founder, because I think 99.5% of ideas are going to fail, and it's about how you deal with that failure. How do you pivot? How do you adapt? How do you make something out of nothing? How do you make something out of an idea? And that's the beautiful thing about it, is you're dealing with human beings, and you want to understand this human being. Okay, how do you deal well with uncertainty? How adaptable are you? How coachable are you? That's at this stage where you don't have revenue and you're pre-seed. That's what it's all about. It's about you. It's not about your market size. It's not about revenue. It's not about anything. It's about you and how how well do you deal with the entire process?
But it's a different feeling, right? When your life is on the line, basically as an entrepreneur, versus your money is on the line as an investor.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
I'm 34, but I look 54, and that's a testament to that, right?
Tell me about it.
So when I first started my first company, like my first big one, the people that invested in me were people who knew me really well and people whose businesses had synergies with my businesses. So I guess after I sold that company and then as I started going out in my career, I kind of applied the same thing to my thesis. Now, obviously, I have some plays where I want to learn something new, so I get involved in something I don't know anything about, but that's just for fun. In reality, when I'm looking for something to really get involved with, I'm looking at people that I know and believe in, and I'm looking at projects that have synergies with what I'm already working on.
Here we go. I'd like to add to the last talk about sales a little bit. I deal a lot with startups that already have some traction in different markets and like to move or want to move to the US. And one of the things that I've really seen there is that if you really focus on sales and you want to enter the US market, New York you can kind of do as being a foreigner, but if you want to break out into the outside, like out of New York and actually sell to the rest of America, you really need American salespeople. Americans buy America. And in New York, you can kind of get away with being a foreign country or being a foreign company. But outside of New York, it's you don't get a lot of traction, or it's very, very hard. So tip.
Free advice for the cohort we just witnessed tonight.
Exactly. I thought, yeah.
That's interesting. I guess. Switching back to the most recent question, I would simply say that I think entrepreneurship is a very ego-driven endeavor, and I think angel investing is largely ego-driven too, in the sense that when I was an entrepreneur, I believed the younger I was, the more likely I believed I would hit the home run, and the less likely I thought I should spend any energy or time other than around my business and competitors thinking about what these other guys are doing. Then you fail a few times and you have some cuts and bruises, and then you move to the next phase, which is like, well, maybe there's all these ideas I want to pursue, and I see these other people doing my great ideas, so maybe I can hedge my bet by investing in those people that are basically doing my ideas, just that there's only one of me, so it's still very ego-driven. And then at some point, you get a little older to get a bit wiser, and you start to say, maybe I should be not only investing in my thing, but I should be using some more objective metrics and diversifying a bit. And that's not every angel investor's journey. I'm just sort of saying that's a very common pattern that I can personally relate to. I also think, to bring this into crypto, the thing that really excites me about this new wave, there's two things that happen. There's the democratization, in America at least, of amateur investors. Globally, you've been able to invest. And then there's the further democratization, which despite the SEC and law, like we can all go on Binance today as American citizens or otherwise and buy. Hey, we're over.
Right, last call.
But bottom line is, I'll give the microphone up, but like now everyone can be really an angel investor. They can buy one token, they can buy 100. A lot of it's BS, but the world is now the angel investment pool, and it used to be a small group of old boys clubs.
Panelists, thank you so much. I had a million more questions, but the bar is still... Wait, are we still on? Are we still on?
What happened to the atmosphere lighting?
Nastya?
They heard crypto, and they're...
Yeah, as soon as you said crypto,
The
the mic
mics went off.
down.
The mics went off.
So just really, what really resonated from what you guys just said, Zoltan and Ali, invest in the people. And that's been my personal mantra since I've started cutting checks to friends. I had no idea what their businesses were. It took me half a decade to realize what they do. But I just knew the people I would invest in, that I was investing in, that they would succeed at all costs. So, yeah, what morsel of advice would you give to the founders here if their businesses aren't doing what they should be doing 6 months, 12 months down the road? Do you throw in the towel? Do you pivot? Give one bit of advice to these guys. I know it's not easy.
That's a heavy advice.
Get ready to do this for 10 fucking years, because if you're not willing to do it for 10 years, you're wasting your time now. 10 years. It's snowing outside, and these people came anyway, right? One thing that I tell everyone is you're going to see, in the startup world especially, the same people, the same few people, over and over and over again for a decade. And those are the people who are making it. The people that you're not seeing or that you're only seeing for a short time, that's because they're in and they're out. 90% are going to fail. And that's not because their businesses aren't good. That's not because there's not a market for their product. It's because they just fucking give up. You literally need to go and go and go. And it doesn't matter if you fail. It doesn't matter if you have to pivot. It doesn't matter if you eat ramen noodles for 6 months. You fucking keep going and you keep showing up, and that's how you win. That's the only way to win.
I agree with that, but I want to add on to that. Is I think my pushback on that would be I think you should be ready to do the process for 10 years, but I think if you're developing a business idea, you should be able to ditch it in a heartbeat and pivot.
Oh yeah, pivot.
I think the process,
pivot is important.
I think entrepreneurship is a process and a journey, and it's a spiritual journey as much as anything else. And I think you should be ready for that. But I think the important thing is exploration, and like one of the kind of like a red flag for me is, and you guys are all going to push back on this, but people that are overly passionate about an idea, like overly passionate about an idea, I think is dangerous. I think part of entrepreneurship is exploration and being able to be like, you know what, guys, this idea doesn't work, so let's pivot, because it's a numbers game. At some point, you're gonna hit that number, you're gonna hit that fucking zero, and you're just gonna 30x, and you will know it when it happens because it's gonna happen overnight.
I would just add from a investment logistics perspective, pivot within the same entity, because if you just keep starting new companies over and over and burning
don't spend
bridges
your money
with
on lawyers.
with your investors, you're eventually going to run out of runway, right? Like, so if you pivot, at least do your first few pivots. I've seen several pivots. I think they're great, and I think that speaks to the strength of the founder very much. Obviously, you cannot invest in a startup without understanding who's behind it. But pivot within the same legal entity, so your investors can go on the journey with you. Yeah.
And I want to say, when it comes to the pitch, if you can intertwine your story with your company's story, you can really kind of hit a snare with whoever you're pitching to. If I have a problem and my company is there to solve that problem, that is a much more compelling story than, oh yeah, it's a big business market. And I think it will signal towards the investors, but of course, correct me if I'm wrong, it will signal that that person will be able to follow through and actually do the 10 years, right?
And go down your road without investors' money as far as possible.
I agree with that 100%. You take investor money, you're taking on a whole new responsibility.
You marry them. You're getting married.
You got a girlfriend that's gonna.
And that divorce is harder to get out of than the other one. Like, yeah.
Yeah, if you became an entrepreneur to not have a boss above you, then don't get investor money, because that's exactly what you're getting.
And getting fired from that situation sucks a lot more than getting fired from a job.
Okay, so I think we're almost ready to wrap up. Since we're heading into the Thanksgiving season, I do have a unusual question, but it's fitting for this season. What was the best holiday gift you received from a colleague in your careers?
So a friend of mine a few years ago started her own Scotch whiskey called Sia. And after a series of tastings where it was like perfumery, like how much more of this flavor do you want or that, we helped her with a group of very drunk girlfriends design the brand, and she gave it to us one holiday season. So Sia Scotch all the way.
Nice. Are you an investor?
Yes.
Oh, see.
Yeah.
Shameless plug by an investor.
Shameless.
That should have been
But it's
outlawed.
good whiskey.
Okay. Anyone else?
From a colleague, electric screwdriver, a really compact one. It's the thing that I've used and been most happy about receiving.
Awesome.
Over the years.
Yeah, that's a good one. Anyone else? Kirk?
Short answer, the best hangover ever. Long answer? Long answer is the best gift I ever gave actually was to leave the startup I co-founded right around the holidays to be like, I don't think I have my personal circumstances and the dynamics to like stick with this over 5 to 10 years, and I'll take my unvested equity. I'll take my vested equity, but I'll even give up some of that if you need it later, and just go for it. Geography, life. So the present to my co-founder was like, go take it from here, buddy, because I don't have it in me right now to give it what this needs. So.
Yeah, and the best gift I received was I recently made a transition back to corporate. We'll see how that pans out. IBM, right? You and me both, yeah.
This panel sponsored by
So
IBM.
many meetings, so many meetings. How does anybody work?
Do you know
I
Watson
still ask
does
that
everything?
fucking question every day. So as I was making that transition, I was very worried about it, and somebody got me this cup that essentially kind of like represented me, my rebellious spirit and everything, and I drink out of that cup every day to remind myself not to get comfortable, not to lose the hustle, and to always look for the next idea and the next opportunity.
What are you drinking?
Well, I say it's coffee, but it's really whiskey. I mean, like, you're at IBM. How do you get through those meetings? I still don't know. You ignore them. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Turn the camera off and just...
Yeah, one more. And in other words, Zoltan, you're already shopping for your holiday gifts for colleagues. I could tell, right?
I have a very short list of Christmas cards or holiday cards.
Oh, it's
Let's
a
just
short
put it
list
that
this
way.
year? Okay, fair enough.
Are there questions, by the way?
Questions?
We can end this, but
Yeah, let's open it up to questions from the audience. Anyone?
Okay, so I have one simple question and might be affected by my today's state, but how did you not go crazy? What helped you not go crazy with everything that's happening?
It's impossible. We're fucking
You're all
nuts. It's
crazy?
the only way you can. The only way that you can. The only way. No, seriously. The only way that you can build a company like a real company is to be off your rocker. No normal person, knowing what was going to go into it, would set out to do that. That's just.
Is that the consensus? Jenny's
I think
nodding.
so. I don't,
Zoltan
yeah,
agrees. Okay.
Definitely.
Every time something fails, I'm like, there were easier ways to lose money. Like, why
More fun ways.
Why did we do all this work to lose all this money?
And we have 3. Dimitri, agreed?
Yeah, 100%.
Wow. Justin?
So we're all insane. That's a consensus. Got it.
I want to confirm.
I have an app on my phone that reminds me that I'm going to die. It just puts everything in perspective.
This is
And Kirk agrees?
I'm crazy, and I agree it's crazy, but I think it's like, it's the form of vanity, which is like, everyone likes to feel special, so us being like, we're crazy, we're not like everyone else, it's sort of partly just, driving our own egos up. So I happen to be crazy, but I'm just saying,
you're
like,
right.
there's nothing
so
more
self-
cliche than like, oh, we're so special, we're so crazy. Most people aren't cut out for this, only we are. I think anyone could do it. If they do it, if they,
You just have to want to. You're right. You have to want.
Hey guys, you were entrepreneurs who turned investors. So my easy question is, which one is better?
definitely investing. It's less work and you keep more hair.
I would rather build and I would rather advise and invest than build any day of the week.
It wasn't really a watershed. I still do both. Yeah. You don't have to stop.
I've met more entrepreneurs that are assholes than investors that are assholes, so that might say something. I don't know.
Well, investors have to be nice because they can't lose deal flow. Entrepreneurs, we're crazy.
If we are talking about early stages, for me, it's like the same. Because if you are an entrepreneur, if you're growing successful company, you are making investment decision every day. And if you want to be a successful investor, you could not be far from running company.
I say building something. I think you should build something and use the money you make to invest, or you should invest, get rich enough to then go and scratch that itch to build something. I don't know which one will work out for me for the home run, but to me, the ultimate goal is I like building something. That's just my personal opinion.
There is no home run. This goes on forever.
It's a process.
Nice. Any other questions from the audience?
Yeah, one of you said that when you invest in a project or someone, you like actually invest in the person himself. So what do you see in that person other than a great idea? What do you see, like what you must see in that person in order for you to invest in that person?
Do you guys mind if I lead on this one? This is gonna sound weird, but for me, it's very much like dating. Like I like to meet founders at least like 4 to 6 times. I test the founders. I want to see how durable you. I want to see your character, and I don't necessarily have to like you. I don't think there's this whole thing about likability. I don't think it has to do with likability. I think we have to know how to work together. I think you have to have really thick skin. Like 95% of the people can't do this. You have to have very, very thick skin. And once I'm convinced that you have thick skin, you have durability, you're adaptable, you're coachable, then I will explore an investment opportunity or an advisor opportunity. But for me, at this stage, we're not talking Series A, like when it's an idea, for me, it's 100% about who you are. Your idea is like this much. Who you are is this much.
For me, knowing people through the network has been important. It's also, I've been very opportunistic. I'm not very systematic about being an angel. It's more someone in my network has an idea or a company. So there's additional validation by sort of having people around you who know the founder. And then, yeah, you have to see, there's a certain, I think grit, like having a thick skin and some evidence of prior success, either academic success or something like people followed through on at least one thing that they committed to in their lives. Because sometimes people are quite young. Yeah.
Of course, you could not know the person from the scratch, from the when you just met the people. That's why I'm giving the credit, the loan, and then stress the company. And after maybe half a year, I will invest.
I agree with Z especially. Every fucking person you meet has ideas. No one cares about your idea. I don't care how good your idea is. Ideas are a dime a dozen. Everything is in the execution of that idea. I met with a guy. The one day he said to me, and we had been speaking on and off about his project. I had referred him to a couple people that I thought could help with what he was doing, and he said to me, "I almost ran out of money 2 months ago," and that said everything it had to say about like his character. Like, I don't care if you run out of money either. I don't care about your idea, and I don't care if you run out of money. I care about you executing it, regardless of what happens, and taking it across the finish line. And if you can't do that, you're just gonna run out of my fucking money.
So basically, find a way, right? Just
find a way. No one cares if you're not.
I
Last
like
words,
finding
Kurt.
people who have failed miserably and dramatically and fantastically enough times that have shown the grit and the variability that there's a good chance that they're learning from that. Because sure, it's better heuristic to find people that have had success in the past, and it de-risks your profile. But I think if you find people that have consistently failed but adapted to it, the return on that is bigger. And it doesn't contradict what you said. They may have been successful in other ways, but I like that as the heuristic, which is like repeated fantastic failure and adaptivity to that, so that you feel like you're getting a diamond in the rough, an undervalued asset, rather than a blue chip asset.
No, and I think you see that your network grows with you, right? So over time, you will amass a network of. I find now that I know people who have had several companies, whereas 10 years ago, it was one. Yeah.
Network is everything. Network is everything. Everything.
Guys, I think we're good. We have a finite time at the open bar, so I think we should say thank you to all our panelists.
Thank you.
Anyone in the audience who wants to be a mentor, a panelist, a coach for our future programs, please come see me, come see Ben. And guys, that's really thank you. Thank you all very much.